Massive protests in Washington, D.C., then protests in places like Chicago, even here in Canada, protests following Donald Trump's inauguration. But Donald Trump's already been very busy. He spoke with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau about trade and planning an upcoming meeting, all looking ahead to renegotiating NAFTA. And his brand new administration, that was already embroiled in its first controversy over telling the truth about crowd sizes and other things. What should we expect from the new Trump administration? And what is the first few days in office telling us already? To find out, I'm joined now by the senior editor of the Atlantic magazine, David Frum. He's in Washington, and the host of TV1's NewsOne Now, Roland Martin. Gentlemen, good morning to you. And David Frum, I'm going to start with you. What message did Donald Trump send with his inauguration address?
The inauguration address sent a message to the world of trade trouble to come. He actually used the word protection, word that modern protectionists try to avoid at all costs. It sent a demonstration also of just how off the cuff this administration will be. That was not a crafted speech. That is not of the kind of literary quality you expect for an inaugural, and who cares about literary quality? But one of the reasons that those speeches attain the quality is because a lot of people look at them. That speech had the feeling of something that was read by maybe two people. That gives you an idea of how this White House will work.
Roland, what was your sense when you listened to that inauguration address? What does that tell you about what we're going to see from the Trump administration?
I found it to be shameful, despicable, a whiner-in-chief. What he described was not a unifying message of America, describing carnage as somehow this is a Mad Max film because you're dealing with a Mad Max-type president. This is a fundamental problem when you look at Donald Trump. David gives him lots more credit than I do. They have no idea what in the hell that they're doing. And so this should be scary to the rest of the country. Our Canadian friends were so great when it came to Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. We might need to reenact the Underground Railroad for Americans who want to flee the craziness we're about to see out of this White House. And so it just made no sense whatsoever. Nothing uplifting, nothing unifying, but that's Donald Trump.
All right, well, Dave, let's go back to it a bit because, I mean, he did say patriotism may inoculate against prejudice, but he did talk about buy America, America first, and protectionism leads to strength. Those are the messages. How will that play out in reality?
It'll play out in a very helter-skelter way. You know, the patriotism message was, I thought, that's doubly complicated because this is an administration where 24 hours before the new president was sworn in, the CIA leaked to the New York Times that we have opened an investigation about flows not only of information but of money between people in the Trump orbit and Russia. And we are leaking this, they told the New York Times, precisely because we're afraid that our investigation will be shut down by the new administration. That was one of the subliminal messages of Donald Trump's visit to the CIA the day after the inauguration. So I don't know that the language of patriotism fits poorly in his mouth.
All right, let me just talk about that. You mentioned his visit to the CIA. Roland, let me just play you this clip because Donald Trump did visit the CIA. And we've got a clip here. He says that this feud between him and the CIA is fueled by the media. Here's what he said.
And they sort of made it sound like I had a feud with the intelligence community.
All right, so you've seen that clip. Then Donald Trump tweeted out that actually the CIA is acting like Nazi Germany. What do you make of all this stuff, Roland?
Let me frame this for folks who don't know. If you've seen any spy movies in America, you're familiar with this. This was the man who was just sworn in to be president of the United States, standing in front of a wall that bears those stars. Those stars represent CIA operatives who have been killed in the line of duty. This man who is the president whined about the media, whined about inauguration photos showing crowd size, whined about a Time magazine cover literally standing in front of a monument of dead CIA operatives. How crass and narcissistic can you be to do that? And the reality is Donald Trump has trashed intelligence. He has said nothing negative about Russia or Putin. And for him to all of a sudden say, I love you and I respect you, shows how demented he is. And so that was abysmal what you saw yesterday. He disgraced those dead CIA operatives. Those were Americans. Those were patriots. What he did before that audience was just dead wrong. wrong.
All right, David, there's been by the way, huge protests, and we'll talk about that in a minute on Saturday here. But let me just show you the new White House press secretary, Sean Spicer, had about almost a 3-minute, it wasn't even a press conference, he didn't take any questions. He chastised the media for what he said was false reporting on the size of the inauguration crowds. Check this out.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe. These attempts to lessen the enthusiasm of the inauguration are shameful and wrong.
All right, so what he said was easily fact-checked. You can see the difference in the photos. Obviously, the crowds never reached the Lincoln Memorial. I don't know how important crowd size is in the general rule, but how important is it that there's these disputes over the truth and these factual confrontations?
There's no dispute. He lied. He looked the press in the eye, and he lied to them. And he lied to them not about one thing, but about many things. He lied to them about the TV ratings. He lied to them about the Martin Luther King bust, which was not a report where a reporter had not seen the bust and had tweeted out that the bust was gone and instantly corrected it. He looked the press secretary looked the press in the eye and lied. And every journalist now knows that. You don't take a lie twice from somebody. And so Spicer's destroyed his own effectiveness, but he's also showed and demonstrated the approach this administration will take to all kinds of things. Actually, whether or not facts are facts is one of the most important questions there is. And if you systematically tell people that facts aren't facts, it doesn't matter whether the underlying fact is a matter of national security or just a matter of, that you have shown how this administration will approach matters of truth. And it's not the way a democratic society behaves. In a democratic society where leaders are answerable to the people, leaders are not, it's not proper for leaders to augment their power by deceit.
All right, Roland, your take on this, because...
Evan,
yeah, go ahead.
I know Sean Spicer. Listen to the deal. I know Sean Spicer. I've dealt with Sean Spicer just like David has, and I'm going to tell you right now, Ari Fleischer even tweeted this out. That was an example of a press secretary being forced to go out and make a statement. And as Ari Fleischer said, you know the president is watching. And to sit there and watch Sean, I know it was eating him up. Don't be surprised. You're going to see this account of him describing this in a book one day. That was embarrassing. And what he did was he destroyed, as David said, his own credibility. On the first day, that's how bad this is. It's all downhill now if you're Sean Spicer, because you can't stand there and lie to the American people and then say later, hey, trust me. That was just unbelievable. But that was Donald Trump, his arrogance, because all he cares about are ratings and crowd size and things along those lines when the facts were there. Obama blew you away with his inauguration attendance, blew you away with television ratings. Well, he doesn't care. He is creating an alternate reality. We have literally fake news in the White House.
David Frum, senior editor of the Atlantic magazine, and Roland Martin from NewsOne Now. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Always good to have you on the program.